Okay, so in this video we're going to take a quick overview of how we might go about deleting an item from a list based on user input. So what we're going to do is set up a list here of 4 names: Alan, Bob, Carl and David, and we're going to display them in a list with a number next to them, and when the user enters the number that corresponds to that person will then be removed from the list. So first thing is just quickly to recall the index and how that works. So in a list, the first item has an index of 0, the second item has an index of 1, 2 and 3. So we have 4 items here, but the indexes only go from 0 to 3. So what I'm going to do is first of all display all the names with a number in front of them. So if I do a for loop, and I'm going to use I in range, and we're going to start at 0 because that's the index of the first item in the list, and we're going to go right up to, but not including, the length of my list. And the length is 4, so this will go up to 3 because it will not get to 4. So then each time we iterate through, what I want to do is I want to print out a number. So I'm going to print out I, just to give you an idea of what that looks like. And then from my names list, I'm going to print out the item that has an index of I. So the first time I loop through, I will have a value of 0. So it will print out the number 0, and then the item that has an index of 0 in this names list. So 0 will be right there. Okay, so that should, we'll just double check, print out all 4. So if we run this, there they are: Alan, Bob, Carl, David. And you notice our indexes have come up as 0, 1, 2, 3. Now the only thing is, if we're going to ask our user to select one to delete, having a 0 as an option can be a little bit misleading. They may make a mistake quite easily here and think, oh, Alan's the first one on the list, I should press 1. So I think it's a bit more intuitive to start our numbering at 1. Now of course, if we do that, all of these numbers have to be increased by 1. So rather than printing I, we're going to print I plus 1. So if we just save this and rerun it, you'll notice now, while I is equal to 0 the first time we run through, we're actually going to be printing I plus 1, which is 1, and so on. So that gives us a far more intuitive option. So that's the first step. The next step now is to get our user input and then delete the corresponding record. So we've displayed our list, and next step now is to get the actual selection. So I'm going to say selection equals, now this will have to be an integer. I'm not going to do any error checking here. I'm just going to assume the user will enter an integer, and I'll just put enter number of name to remove. Okay, so that now gets some user input where we can type a number from 1 to 4. And then what we do is we're going to delete from the list. So we go del, short for delete, and then names, which is the name of the list. And then in our square brackets, we need to put in the index of the item we're removing. So that is the number that our user is entering. Now, the only thing is, they're going to be entering a number that is actually 1 higher than the index. So if I return to my program, if they wish to delete Carl, they're going to be entering the number 3. But in our list, Carl here has an index of 2, because obviously it starts at 0, 1, 2. So what I need to do is I need to take 1 away from whatever the number of the selection is. So there's selection minus 1. And then just to double check that that is actually still there, what I'll do now is I'll do another loop, and I'll just go for n in names, print n, and that will display everyone who is left in my list. So we'll just do a quick, and that is really just a double check at the end. So there is our list. If I decide that I'm going to remove Bob, here's person number 2. That should remove the person with an index of 1 from my list. Oops. And there you see it, Bob is gone. We now have Alan, Carl and David left. Okay, so that's the way that we can go about allocating a number to each item in the list. There's the display of the numbers. And then in terms of deleting it, we get user input in this line, and then we use the del, for short for delete, command to delete from our names list a particular item. And just don't forget the fact that we're having to adjust. We're doing I+1 in the list, and then there's selection -1 when deleting.